to get here at 6, that gives me a little extra time. So people can be unreliable in a good way, meaning they can innovate. They're in constant motion. And that's the nature of interpersonal dynamics. So people live in that world quite well. But if you want to live in this world, you cannot get too attached to detail. Because by the time you get your arms around all the detail, the person's gone. Right? So you have to be able to make decisions and take action without a lot of information most of the time. I mean, think about how many deals you've done on a handshake. Let me ask you another question. Who is an entrepreneur or a leader that you admire? That you would pay to go see, or if you ever had the chance to go meet, it could even be a historical figure. Who is somebody that you really admire and really respect? Who would be an example? Nobody?
Branson. Yeah, Richard Branson.
Richard Branson? Is Richard Branson rich?
Yeah.
He is. How do you know? How do you know?
It's well publicized, isn't it?
It's well publicized. By whom? Who keeps telling us how rich he is?
Forbes magazine.
Pardon me?
Forbes magazine.
Forbes magazine. And who tells Forbes how rich is?
The media.
Himself.
The media does. And who tells the media how rich he is?
The press release, the press photos of Richard Branson.
Right. The press release and the press report that Richard writes. So who keeps telling us how rich Richard Branson is? Richard. Have any of you seen his financials? Can any of you prove he's rich?
Yeah, I mean, based on the stock market pricing and his stock holding, he is rich in terms of wealth.
How many of those stocks does he own?
I'm sure he's owned 30%.
How do you know?
I read his book, Losing His
I read his book too.
Yeah.
How do you know?
At that time, he said that he owned 70% and he has 30%. At that time.
At that time. The point being is, he told us we have no empirical proof. We have no empirical evidence, unless you've seen his financials that I haven't seen, if he's rich or not. Point being is, we will often take less than absolute information before making a decision on something. That's all. And again, unless you're a personal advisor or some sort of financial advisor to him, or you're privy to information that others are, how do you know? Point is, you don't. But yet, and I'm a huge fan of Richard Branson. I've read all his books. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what he's done. The reality is, though, is I'm operating on less than 100% information. That's the only point here. I'm sure the guy's rich. But the reality is no one, unless, again, set me straight, somebody in here has intimate knowledge that we all don't know about, but I don't think there's a person in this room that can prove it. And the only one telling us that rich is rich is rich. Same thing with Paul McCartney, same thing with, I don't know, Donald Trump, Paul, or whoever.
I mean, at least if their lifestyle commands a rich person, you know, they would have to spend that much amount of money to be able to command that kind of lifestyle, having a private jets and traveling in whatever classes they travel in. That requires money, and that's how we can measure them up, saying they are rich.
Logically, I follow you.
Yeah.
And you can't prove it.
Yeah.
I can prove it. You can't prove it.
I mean, he owns a jet, which is on his name. The jet itself has cost $15 million.
I don't think he owns the jet. I think his company owns the jet.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if Richard Branson walked in this room today, he would probably have the lowest net worth of anyone in the room. What does he personally own? What does his trust own? We are all worth more in this room than Donald Trump or Paul McCartney. Legally, technically, they don't own anything. They control it all, but they don't own anything. So, point being, is we go, as an I person, there's a certain level of comfort you have to have, or a certain level of certainty you have to have with less than 100% information, and that is difficult for the C often to accept. They say, no, wait a minute, I want to get it right the first time. Let's have all the information. Let's gather all the data. Then we could know that we're right. I'd rather not do it at all than try and get it wrong and just have to redo it. In the world of the compliant person, rest of the world gets done on purpose. And it pisses everyone else off. And the C person has to spend their time cleaning up the mess that the I person left behind them. Right? How many people does it take to start a fire? How many people does it take to clean up a fire? A lot. So the C person says, can we just please, for just once, can we just measure twice and then cut? For once? Why do we have to waste 9 pieces of wood to get the right piece for you? Right? So if you are in interpersonal dynamics and it's constantly moving, you have to operate with now all the full information. Whereas the C person says, hold on a second. The balance sheet isn't done until it balances. And the I person says, look, you'll get there eventually. Can we just go? No. We have to make the whole balance sheet balance before we go anywhere. Right? So this is a more static way of thinking. This is a more dynamic way of thinking. One's not better than the other. I do not want, now listen, last night I was at the airport. I wanted the D and I person to get me on that plane. But I do not want a high I pilot. I don't want that. I want a person who goes through the checklist. I want a person who I want them to come on and say, this is your captain speaking. We're going to fly at 36,000 feet, blah, blah, blah. I want the statistics. I want it straight on. I don't want Mr. or Mrs. Personality behind the cockpit of the plane. Hey, isn't this fun? Watch what we can do. No. I want people who are systematic, compliant, following the rules over here. I want my accountant, I want my banker, I want my financial manager over here, covering the details, working the system, making sure that on a consistent basis things are happening on a daily basis. I don't necessarily need a lot of creativity over here. It will happen naturally, but I don't, I want you to enjoy your job, but we don't have to, I don't need my pilot wearing a lampshade and walking around high-fiving people in the cabin while the plane is flying. I want them to just do their job very methodically. So there's a place everywhere, but think about this. Your natural blind spot will be the diagonal quadrant. So what that means is, if you're a D person, your blind spot is probably S. If you're an S person, where you said when we did this, you're mostly S, your blind spot will be D. If you're an I person, your blind spot will be mostly C. If you're a C person, your blind spot will more than likely be I. I have spoken to so many banks about how to market and build relationships, and that's an area they're struggling, and vice versa. The salesperson can't keep the money in their bank account. Okay? The results-driven person constantly changing the process. Process people can't get to a result because they're trying to make this too perfect. Okay? Is that making sense? Starting to see how that might apply to you? All right, so let's follow the handout and say, what is your natural style? And what my true nature is, and that could be D or I or S or C. And my